Hopefully it's going. It seems to be preparing. Yay! We're going to be live shortly. Let me just make sure that this is all set up properly for us, Jamie. And then just, there we go. It is. It's all set up properly. That's fabulous. That's great. Right. Okay. So we're live. Oh, and I've got another subscriber. Yay! Everyone, I have the lovely Jamie Lowe, also known as Jamie Lowe TV. Jamie, introduce yourself. Tell everyone what it is you do.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie. I live in Bristol in the southwest of England, and I work for a local TV channel as a broadcast journalist. And I make lots of content online and present things on the telly. And yeah, that's what I do to keep busy.
Right. I'm going to pop us onto gallery view for a second, but I think I might switch us back to this view shortly. Right. So we've got some people watching already, which is always nice. Always nice to hear. So can you tell me a little bit about your type 1 diabetes and how old you were when you were diagnosed? And yeah, start with when were you diagnosed?
So I was diagnosed when I was 23. So I just moved to Bristol. I just started my first job in telly, and it was all going great. I was busier than ever. And then all of a sudden I just, deteriorated quick. But I was so busy that I didn't really realize what was going on. And it just got to the stage where other people were telling me there's something really wrong here. You need to, go see a doctor, go work out what's going on. And I was quite severely in DKA. So I went into hospital on a Friday, didn't get to leave till like the Tuesday or something like that. I was on a drip for like 3 days. But I was in like quite a bad state, and I just didn't notice really. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was finally getting to do what I'd spent 3 years at uni training to do. So when it all happened, it was a bit of a whirlwind process, and I just sort of got carried away in work and completely forgot about my health and didn't really pay attention to it at all.
So was it retrospectively that you realised that you had like typical symptoms? Did you have the thirst and the going to the toilet and losing weight and the tiredness and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. The thirst was the thing that I remember the most, because I used to think I used to like question why everyone else wasn't as thirsty as me. So I'd go to film somewhere and then have to immediately go to buy a big like 2-litre bottle of water and down it, and then I'd look around the shop and think, like, why aren't all of you people doing exactly the same as me? What's going on? Why aren't you as thirsty? So that's how much I didn't notice the symptoms, because it just, what do those symptoms mean to someone who doesn't know anyone about type 1 diabetes? They're sort of fairly manageable. You're a bit tired, you're losing some weight, great, or you're a bit thirsty. None of them symptoms are stopping you really from going about your daily life until it's too late. So yeah, that was a situation that I was in, really.
I can totally understand that, especially like having just finished all your training and actually doing what you want. Like, it's totally understandable.
Yeah,
that you'd be so engaged in that you didn't notice the other stuff that was happening. What I was going to ask you was, do you mind me asking, how old are you now, Jamie?
27.
You're 27, so it's 4 years, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you manage it now, and has that changed? Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I started on pens, and now I'm on a pump, and I've got a Freestyle Libre now, which is great. But my management is changed mostly in the way that I'm less sort of stressed by it all. So when I was first diagnosed, it was like a numbers game, and I was so sort of obsessed with not letting my blood sugar go very high. And I've chatted to people who have been diagnosed recently on my podcast, and they're sort of in that same headspace now. I was so sort of stressed out about it being just a little bit high, whereas now I'm a bit sort of more flexible with it. I don't let it stress me out too much, because it can, like when you know you're seeing your blood sugar go up and you don't know why, it's really, really stressful. So
really
that's the main thing.
frustrating. It's just
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's
why?
annoying a bit. But that's the thing that's changed now. I'm a bit more chilled out with it. I'm a bit easier about it, which I think is a good thing. It definitely means that I'm not so like, you know, stressed, and I'm not like this all the time. I'm trying to be a bit more like cool and chill.
I think I've always been quite chilled out with it, and maybe that isn't a good thing, but I've always been fairly kind of laid back, and yeah, I'm trying my best, but hey, every time I spike every day, like without fail, I always spike to at least 15 at some point during the day. And yeah, like today's been an odd day. I've been running a bit high all day, and then I've all of a sudden had a dip just before we started this, and I had to have something to eat. So like, it's just like, and in fact, I've cancelled my insulin. Actually, I'll probably have to put that back on soon. I better check my blood sugar. Having said that, but yeah, it's just like no day is ever the same for me, and we all have the same. Yes, I put my insulin back on. We all have the same kind of, I think, frustration with it. It's completely relentless and frustrating a lot of the time. But hey ho. It's part of what makes me me.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put my insulin back on.
But I think that there are some people that don't give themselves a break. I see so many people.
I've met so many. Yeah.
Yeah. In like comment sections online, when, you know, people are like just discussing diabetes topics, and there's always going to be one person in the comments that's, you know, a bit militant about it, and it's like, what are you doing, you silly people, how dare you let your blood sugar rise. I mean, I've had them on my own videos. I did a whole video where I just documented every sort of diabetes fail I made for the first few weeks of having my pump, and one of the comments was, well, you won't be laughing about this when you're dead. And then I was like, oh, wow. Well, but those people, I do sort of feel for them a little bit, because I know how difficult it was when I was a bit like that, when I was a bit sort of too obsessed with getting the numbers perfect. It's just not a nice place to be. So I do, you know, there's a middle ground. Maybe I've not found it yet, but I'm definitely heading towards it.
Yeah, I really feel for. I met some some parents of type 1s who were very much like that. And I really feel for the child, because I don't remember. I mean, when I was diagnosed, it was so different. I talked about this last week with Partha. I was saying, like, when I was diagnosed, that you were only allowed a set amount of carbs it was 30 years ago, you're only allowed a set amount of carbs for breakfast, a set amount for snack, then lunch. And so everything was quite militant. But so my mum would say, oh, you can't have that chocolate biscuit now, but you can have it at this time, kind of thing. That used to happen, but I don't really remember it. It was never like I was stopped. But there was a family who said that they wouldn't let their kids have cake. And I just went, and I couldn't bite I think I might have said it on one of these lives before. I couldn't really bite my tongue. I had to say, well, that's maybe not a great, in my opinion, if my parents had done that, I would probably like grow up with a little bit of resentment about that. Like, you can account for this. You can plan for it. You can plan for having a bit of cake. You can do the insulin in advance. You can sort it out. There's no need for that child to be deprived of cake. But anyway,
I think it's especially if you're diagnosed young, which I wasn't. So I became me before diabetes. But I wonder whether if people grow up with sort of overbearing parents, that's when you see people that just sort of, you know, disconnect from the diabetes and they ignore it for a few years, and then they realize suddenly down the line when they start to see maybe some complications that they shouldn't have done that. But it's I mean, I can imagine again being a parent and, you know, being really sort of obsessive with it, because it's your child's health, isn't it?
It's so hard for them. It's like it's a whole period of grief, a diagnosis, and yeah, I guess they feel, I don't know if they feel pressure from their consultants or their diabetes nurses or whatever, but yeah, it's really hard for parents, and that's what I learned when writing Pricks, that it's a lot harder for parents than I'd ever thought about it being. And I probably always thought about it a little bit selfishly, and I thought about how it affected me. And it wasn't until I met other parents, and until I met parents whilst I was doing research for my show, that actually I realised how much it must have affected my parents as well. We've got a couple of comments, and can I encourage everyone who's watching to send us a question in, please? Rebecca Redmond is so excited for this Prick Me Up. She says the only thing we type 1 Ds can't eat is poison. Everything else in moderation. That's exactly right, Rebecca. I like that comment. Yeah, exactly right. I love it. Yeah, the only thing we can't eat is poison. We just got to sort out our insulin for everything else. And let us worry about that as well. It's annoying, isn't it, when you get comments from other people about what you're eating and things like that. It's like, I'll worry about my diabetes. It's none of your business kind of thing.
It's that, I mean, for the first couple of months, it was kind of novel and new, and I got quite good at the 30-second elevator pitch of what diabetes is, and no, mine's not type 2, and this is what mine means, and all that sort of stuff. But now, 4 years later, God, like I'd rather. So before, I used to be like, I'm diabetic, talk to me about it, ask me questions, because obviously the way that I was diagnosed, I didn't want anyone else to experience that again, so I would talk about diabetes as much as possible. But now I'm sort of enjoying a bit more anonymity about it. Maybe I'm posting a bit less content about it, and I'm not so Mr. Diabetes, because it was that exhaust. I got tired of doing that 30-second elevator pitch, and it was the same ignorance over and over again. And it is our job to like educate people, but I think now I'm retreating a bit, and then maybe I'll get a bit more inspired and want to talk about it more in the future. But I'm not that in that place right now.
No, I get that. And so you, as part of your job, have done a lot of weather reports, haven't you?
Yeah, so most days, not right now, because we are sitting in I don't know how big this room is, maybe 3 meters by 1 and a bit, 1.5 maybe. We are now sitting in my whole working world. So this is my home studio. So there's no sort of weather going. They've got a little camera there with an auto cue HUD. That's how, can you even see that? That's how God, this is really hard to do. Can you see that? You see the little screen?
Yes.
And then there's just loads of junk there. So this is all this is my world right now. This is my Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. But in a normal world, I would be out doing reports, and yes, at some point of the day we do a weather forecast, and it's not like with a map and like what you might have been expecting.
Yeah, which is what I said to you before when you sent me this
yes,
stuff.
So that is just a standard weather. Well, yeah, because we do it like out and about. So that's the whole thing about local TV. It's supposed to be like out in the community. Nothing's in a studio. We used to have studios and sofas and all that sort of stuff, but they want us out in there with people. And it's just so weird now that this is where I go every day, whereas before I would be out and about every day. It's so strange right now.
Just got a couple of comments that I want to read to you before we go into teaching me how to do a weather report. Okay. So Rebecca says I'm really only here for Jamie's cat. Do you have a cat, Jamie?
Felix, yeah. So see what he's about.
I've got 4 cats.
Oh, really? Wow.
I'm a crazy cat lady. I had 3 cats, and then I inherited my mum's cat. So we were a little bit crazy, but now we're totally crazy because we've got 4. But
I wasn't a cat person before Bristol. The cat sort of was here before I moved in. I saw
the video I think you put on your YouTube recently. It was you out and about in Bristol on your daily walk.
Yeah.
I saw you stroking a cat, and as soon as I saw that, I thought he's a cat person. And I forgot to ask you at the start if you had one. But Rebecca's pointed out that you do. She's obviously been spying on your social media and stuff.
Yeah, little Felix.
Nick Calm saying good evening to us both. And he says, I find speaking about diabetes motivates me. Do you find if you withdraw from it, it's easier to forget about it?
Well, I don't think forgetting about it is anything that's at all possible for me. But I think what withdrawing from talking about diabetes, it does let your life not be just about diabetes, which I think is a trap that sometimes we fall into. We sort of forget that the rest of the world exists, us type 1s.
It's funny you say that, because I was looking, I think it was just today, or was it yesterday? I was having a look at a couple of people I follow on social media, and I was looking at the amount of content they put out there. And I just thought, like, that's like not ever giving yourself a break from it at all. Like, not that you can have a break from it, it's not possible. But like, I just thought, I'm not putting that much out there, but I really don't want to be that person that's always so positive all of the time, like doing several posts a day, because like it is hard. It's not, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard at times. It's hard for everyone. I don't believe for 1 second that someone can be positive about it all of the time, because it's just not true. I think it's life, yeah. But yeah, well, let's move on to teaching me a little bit about doing a weather report. Yeah.
Okay. So usually, now this is really breaking down the fourth wall here. Usually, the weather takes me seconds because I don't even see this. I am out on location somewhere. Somebody sends me a script. I read it. And then that's that. And then, you know, often someone else puts it all together. So usually the weather is like, it's done in a second.
When you get your weather script,
is
it on an auto cue or?
Yeah. So we use our phones as little portable auto cues.
So you can read that, okay? Like when you stood back to like reporting, can you read what's on your phone?
Yeah. So there's an app that we use called Big View, and the text is all big enough, and then it's really good. It's really good because sometimes you can get a better shot with your phone than you can with a camera, especially if you're on your own filming something. You just stick your phone on a tripod and then put the script in, and then the words appear. The only thing is when you usually, like, someone rolls an auto cue for you, so the words keep up with how you speak. But when it's on the app, you know, you have to keep up with the words. Up with the cue. Yeah, so that's the only difficult bit about auto cue on the phone. But yeah, it works really well because what used to happen is we have a whole like weather team, but the weather team don't exist anymore. So it's they worked, you know, out how can we make this happen but make it take as little of the day as possible. But other places take weather really, really seriously, and I've spent some time in places like the Look North weather department, and weather like we're going to do it is a bit more like what they do. So when the BBC Look North, do you get Look North where you are? Yes. So I'll have stood in that same weather studio where your weather comes from, and they don't have scripts. They have like what we will have, sort of, the graphic on the screen, and they react to the graphic. So they will talk for probably anywhere between a minute and a minute 30, but we are trying to get our weather to be 57 seconds. That's how long the weather slot is in local TV. Right. And as you can see by your graphic, there's not a ton of information on there. And all what that information is, that's for the viewer. So what we're going to do is sort of get our heads around it a little bit. So I'm going to put myself in the harbour side in Bristol. There we go. Should we have? So when in the weather centre in Look North, they have someone that's on shift, the presenter that's on shift, and then the shifts obviously move throughout the day, and the weather presenter beforehand will brief the weather presenter that's coming onto shift. So if I'm that weather guy now, actually, let me put, have I got yours? Okay, yeah, I've got the northeast. I'll get my left from the right. So I would be telling you.
Should I put the northeast one on?
Oh, have you got? Oh, that's right. I can put Bristol on. Probably easier for me to put one on.
Yeah, I've got Bristol up.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll stick with Bristol.
By the way, I love Bristol.
Have you brought pricks down here yet?
No, I've tried. I haven't got a theatre to book it yet.
Oh, really?
Do you have any theatre connections, Jamie?
Probably, yeah. The Bristol Improv Theatre, they're quite good. I mean, what we're going to be doing here is a bit of improv because there's no script. Yeah, I can hook you up.
Yeah, we'll chat about that then. We'll chat. I desperately want to bring it to Bristol. I love Bristol, but Bristol is the only place where I've ever got food poisoning.
Oh, really? Where was it?
I got it off a seagull, I think it was. So basically, I was sat at a cafe. I don't know what cafe it was. I was having a panini. I was on tour with the show. It was like 10 years ago now. I was on tour with a show called Apples, and I was having panini. And there were these seagulls. There's loads of seagulls, isn't there? Kept flying down off the tables and stuff. Anyway, a couple of hours later, I'm not very well, and it turns out when they did the tests that it was a type of food poisoning transmitted by seabirds. So that it must have been the seagull. It wasn't the place that made me the sandwich. It was the seagulls that kept flying down on the table, which is lovely. But yeah,
I remember being in a part of Bristol where it's like a shopping area. It's called Broadmead, and I was filming at this Vietnamese sort of food kiosk. And then we're doing the interview, we're doing some filming. I've got like a Vietnamese sandwich called a banh mi in my hand. And then I'm pretty sure a seagull is sick on everyone because we hear this horrific noise, like all of this stuff just flies everywhere. And then all the seagulls scatter. And everyone's like, what the hell happened? Did someone throw something? And I think what happened there is a seagull threw up like chips or something. So maybe I just dodged the seagull food poisoning. We could have had a similar bout of that. But no, I didn't eat the sandwich that the seagull was sick on. So
good.
Anyway, away from seagulls, back to the weather. So I'm putting you. So yeah, you're gonna stand there. Yeah. So you're gonna stand like that. So you're not gonna look. Well, you can if you want to, but that's gonna be moving quite fast. So all you're gonna want to know from that is when to start talking about something else. Because mine's stuck on this.
I've got mine on pause at the moment.
So I've got mine supposedly looping. Oh yeah, it is. So this is about a minute long. So you're gonna ramble on for a minute. Now a minute is gonna feel like more like 3 or 4 in this because it's gonna be a bit sort of tricky. But I think what you have to do is sort of make a little mental map and hit the different points. So the 5-day forecast is always at the end. That's where you're wrapping up everything. So you start with tomorrow's weather. So you're going to quickly get a synopsis. So it's looking overcast. So you can say generally overcast around the region. We've got a little bit of rain up in Thornbury. Temperature sitting low teens between 11 and 13 degrees. A similar picture on Friday. The wind's picking up slightly and we've got a bit of rain creeping in too. We're going to see the most of that by the coast in Weston-super-Mare, but generally not that sunny weather that we've been experiencing of late. Is it going to pick up at all? Well, not really. There's temperatures are staying much the same through to Friday, picking up slightly though into Saturday. We might see a bit of sunshine too, but at the start of the new week, it's getting it's getting warmer, but it's getting quite cloudy and we'll see a little bit of rain too. So I was a bit over the minute there, but you sort of have to, get a general idea of what the information is, and then the bits in the middle you'll just sort of make up as you go along. So temperatures, they're always good to start with. 11 and 13, low teens. Wind speeds 11 and 13 miles per hour is nothing really to speak of. And then if there's any rain too, what you're trying to do is just give a sort of overview, but remember that a lot of this data is not coming from an actual weather scientist, a meteorologist. What we have is a computer system that delivers this to us. So every now and again, that computer system will make some mistakes and it'll lie about the weather. So you have to be sort of a little bit vague and talk a bit generally with your words. So, yeah, that's sort of it. Does that make sense? Have you got any questions?
I mean, no, I don't think I've got any. Shall I have a go?
Yeah, let's wait for it to get round.
Yeah.
To the so after the failure.
Not really look at it very much at all. Or do you go?
Yeah, I mean, you can, but like,
Not to start.
I guess in a real weather studio, you'd be able to see it. So I can see it on my screen in front of me. We'll let it go round again. Why don't you just sort of like block it through? Yeah, block it through.
Okay, block it through. I'll have a practice.
Yeah, and then sort of go for it.
So we can see it's in the low teens, the weather. There's not much wind, and a little bit of rain in Thornbury. Got a little bit of rain up in Thornbury tomorrow. Sorry, we're on tomorrow, aren't we? Friday, and similar temperatures, a bit more windy and a bit more rain. A bit more rain though. Looks pretty dry in Bristol. And then the 5-day forecast, obviously, for the rest of the week. Oh, the rest of the week, is that tomorrow? Yeah.
That's your 5-day forecast. Yeah, so that's
Saturday, right, there's a bit of sunshine on Saturday, and a bit of rain Sunday and Monday, unfortunately. But all in all, it's getting warmer. It's going to 16, 17 degrees, so not too bad.
Oh, that was quite good. Quite good timing. You almost hit the nail on the head there. You know, okay. that was pretty good.
Right, let's pause that. We did have a question, I noticed. Just really quickly to go back to the people are tuned in. And guys, do keep sending questions in. We're happy to answer any questions. So Adam is asking, how do you guys prevent post-breakfast spikes? Any tips? My 14-year-old daughter Liz, type 1, asked me to ask you. Great chat. Okay, post-breakfast spikes. I'm going to let you answer this one first.
So I have a really annoying sort of relationship with the dawn effect. So a lot of the times my blood sugar will rise anyway in the mornings. And if your breakfast is particularly carby or with a high GI, then that obviously is going to spike it. So what you can do is you can pre-bolus. So take the insulin a few minutes before, probably more like 15. And if your insulin takes a long time to act like mine, you know, it can be up to like half an hour. If I know there's going to be a spike, I'll try and take my insulin as far in advance as possible. That's all to do with planning though, and sticking to a routine, which is something that I'm really, really not good at. But I think what happens sometimes with a breakfast spike is it'll come down just as quick. And then you've got a sort of mid-morning hypo, which is so annoying, especially if you're tired already.
Yes. Yeah. And hypos, just like, they just knacker me out for the rest of the day. You get the hypo hangover, I call it as well. I'm not very good at answering this question, Adam, because I barely eat breakfast. I'm just not hungry at that time in the morning. I tend to get hungry about 10 o'clock. So I have also suffered with the dawn phenomenon. Can't even say that word, phenomenon, in the past. And yeah, I'm not a big breakfast eater, but I have only recently got better at pre-bolusing and noticed an improvement in my levels, definitely. So Jamie's advice there is good advice. Obviously, I've got to remind you that we're not medical professionals. You know that. We're just people with type 1 diabetes. But yeah, I'm not a breakfast eater, so I am not really qualified to answer that. But Nick's agreed with us. Nick said bolus timing. And Rebecca's just said, I eat a low carb brekkie, bolus about 20 to 25 minutes before eating, and sometimes run an increased temp basal. I can't talk tonight. Temp basal for 2 hours after breakfast, but everyone's different. That's exactly right. It's just trial and error, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I only really eat breakfast on the weekends, but I have been doing now because like I'm home and there's not a lot else to do sometimes. So I've been sort of experimenting with porridge and things like that. And sometimes I hit the nail on the head and it's fine, but other times it's just horrific. So, I mean, if you've got the sort of brain power, the mental capacity and the wherewithal to bother with a carby breakfast, then, you know, by all means, but I definitely don't, not every day.
No, porridge, I'm not a massive porridge fan anyway, but I've had other type 1 say to me, I just don't touch porridge anymore. I can't work it out. I can't work it out or anything. But I was chatting to someone recently, and I can't remember who it was, but it was another person with type 1 diabetes that said that their endo had told them that as long as they pre-bolus for breakfast and they get that right, their blood sugars will be smoother for the rest of the day. And she swears down that that's right. And she boluses half an hour before breakfast, she said. I can't remember who it was that was telling me that. It's really annoying. But yeah, that's it must have come up in another conversation recently for me to have been told that. So that's another idea, half an hour before. But yeah, everyone's saying try it earlier on. And Rebecca's asking you a question. She wants to know, Jamie, if you weren't on TV, what would you be doing?
That's a really tough one. I don't know. I always say that if I didn't do TV production at uni, I'd have done a marketing degree or something like that. But I suppose like making adverts and making stuff like that is similar to making video content anyway. So if I was to do it really, really different, I guess, I mean, before I went to uni to study television production, I thought I was going to go to drama school. And I was signed to an agency and all that sort of stuff, and going to auditions and things like that. Because I think all the way through school, I'd done like drama and stuff, and everyone told me that I wanted to be an actor. But it was only after I'd, went through the whole horrific process of auditioning for drama schools and going to castings like sort of every other day in London that I was like, I really don't want to be an actor. So that's how I sort of stumbled into TV, because it was still sort of, that sort of creative, entertaining sort of thing. So not acting. I'm not in your camp, Jade, unfortunately.
Well, but I would be really tempted by your camp. Like,
oh yeah.
When I was like 15, 16, earlier on in my life, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would say a Bond girl. I wanted to be a Bond girl. My dad was into James Bond, watched a lot of James Bond movies, and I was like, I want to be a Bond girl when I grow up. But I did go through a period when I was about 15, 16, where I wanted to be a TV presenter. That's all. And then I don't know how it changed. I went off to study musical theatre and then ended up acting. So yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? But I would definitely, if I was to change, it wouldn't be a big change. It would be going to TV presenting, kind of.
But I think actors make great TV presenters, because a lot of it, as we've seen there, is improv. It's sort of just, especially when you do live TV, there's no feeling like it. I guess it's probably what you feel when you're live on a stage. There's a bit more sort of like timings involved, and like people counting in your ear and talking to you in your ear, and that sort of stuff. So that's a skill that you develop. But I guess it's sort of the same feeling and the same sort of experience. But actors, I think, make really, really good TV presenters. But I don't think TV presenters make great actors, because there's parts of my job where it is acting, where I'm sort of picking up shoots and picking up shots. The worst thing is when you sort of reshoot questions if you're only filming an interview with one camera. So I have to sort of act the question, usually in a shorter sentence than what I said in the actual interview. And then when it's like a particularly like poignant question, it's a bit emotional, I get really in my head about whether I'm like over egging it. And it's like, and how does that make you feel? And I do like 7 or 8 times. And how does that make you feel? And how does that make you feel? And as I'm doing it, I can feel that in my body that I'm getting more sort of like animated and louder. And then at the end of it, I just think it looks a bit cringy. And that's the bit I hate, but you have to do those bits. I filmed a documentary in Norway, and that was so much acting because of all of the problems with the weather and things like that. They just get me to like straight up pretend that things were happening because we couldn't film it. I had to pretend to see the Northern Lights. And I did a version where I said, oh, well, no Northern Lights are out tonight. Not everyone gets to see them. Oh, well, that's not going to ruin my day onwards with the rest of Norway. But then they used the version where I was pretending to look at the Northern Lights. So I can't watch that episode now because I like cringe up and like, ugh, it's horrible. So I don't like acting. Maybe I'd be a spy. I always think I'd be quite good as a spy.
I would love to be a private investigator.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm so nosy. I love doing that. I love doing a bit of like online stalking and stuff. I'd love to, but also, I definitely join you on the marketing thing as well. I have worked in marketing a little bit,
cool.
but yeah, I've always been interested in marketing too. So,
but then I thought as well when I was a kid that I wanted to be an actor because I didn't want to pick a job, and I thought, well, if I'm an actor, I can be a doctor one day, I can be a spy and not get killed. I
love pretending to be someone else, yeah.
But that's the only thing that I wouldn't want in a job. I want to do like a cool, exciting job, but I wouldn't want the danger that comes with it. Like, I'd want to be a spy, but I'd want to guarantee that I'm not going to get, murdered or anything like
that. We got a message from Matt Jack. He says, hi, Jane and Jamie. Jamie, have you had any annoying members of the public that have caused multiple reshoots for outside news pieces?
Yeah, all the time. Absolutely. there's something that you do in news often, and just in TV in general, called vox pops, where you walk up to a member of the public and ask them about something, and every now and again you'll just pick like the wrong person. Like, these people, they turn around and they start talking to you in utter gibberish, and you have to sort of just like really be really polite. And I'm really trying to work out what they're saying and if they're even like sort of understood the question. And you're thinking, right, as soon as they stop, I'm just going to say thank you for your time and move on. But they're not stopping. So there's a lot of that. But that's what you get when you're, asking anyone in the street questions like that. But I'm trying to think of a time when someone's like got in the way of something, other than the seagull that was sick on me. What was the... I'm trying to think whether someone threw an apple at me once when I was live on telly. Yeah. So I was covering the Bristol International Balloon Fiesta, and there's this section of the balloon fiesta where they light up all the balloons, and it looks incredible at night. It's like the balloons are little lights, and they're shining to the music and all that sort of stuff. And like, we were live on telly, but the balloons weren't there yet. So we're just sort of rambling on, trying to talk up until the balloons start flashing. And then this apple just sort of like brushes my ear, and like, I see it hit a light in front of us. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I turn round, and it was a BBC radio presenter who shall remain nameless, who was like, oh God, I didn't realize that you were live on air. They were like, but yeah, that happened. And like, they were a presenter too, so they
at least they weren't throwing it at you nastily to
no one was being nasty. But still, like, the lights were on, the red lights were on the cameras. What they expect?
Yeah, they should know. As a presenter, they should know that if the lights are on the cameras, red lights on the cameras, you don't throw an apple. And what I was going to say was, when you talk about vox pop, there was a really funny vox pop from I think it was Look North. It was one of the local news stations, and it was in Stockton. It was the day after lockdown had been announced, and they were on Stockton High Street, which is like about 15 minutes up the road from me. And they interviewed this guy and said, what have you come out for today? And he said, I've come out for some white lasagna sauce. I think that's what it was come for. And they were like, but it's lockdown. He went, but you know about lockdown? He went, yeah, but I want lasagna for tea. It's an essential item. And it was just like so typical, like stereotypical of Stockton. It was ridiculous. And then the sport to an all were out shopping. They were like, what are you doing now? Have you not heard about lockdown? They're like, what are you on about? We don't listen to the news. I was like, it was so funny with little vox pops. I just loved them. They were brilliant. Right, should I have a go at the weather properly now?
Okay, yes. So why don't I do it? Why don't I sort of have a go, and then you can sort of lead by my example. So
should we do the northeast one?
Yeah, let's do the northeast one, because I haven't looked at this one either. So this one's new to me. So I want it to leap. That's stuck on the 5-day forecast then.
Which one is it? Is it HBL or HTW the northeast?
HTW. So that's time. That stands for Tyne and Wear.
Tyne and Wear, right.
have a shot.
I've got mine on pause. You right? I'll watch you. I'll watch you.
Okay.
And then...
We'll wait for it to go around. I haven't seen this one at all. So, 12:13, cloudy, 5-day forecast. Sunny into the weekend, clouding over, and a little bit cooler into the week.
Is this actually tomorrow's forecast?
Yes, this is real. This is the one that will be on.
Has been.
Hello there, let's take a look at your weather forecast. Starting with tomorrow then, Thursday is going to be a little bit cloudy. We've got some sunny spells breaking through. Temperature staying in the low teens, between 13 and 11 across most of the region. Into Friday then, getting slightly warmer. It's going to be about 14 degrees Celsius in Newcastle. That cloud sticking around, but some more sunny spells. So potentially a nice Friday afternoon, because that wind really is staying quite down low. Into the 5-day forecast then, and is the weather going to improve? Not really. We are going to see sort of the temperatures creeping up, highs of 17 on Sunday, but we're expecting generally more cloud around, and it's going to get colder too as we come into the north the new week. That's your latest weather forecast for the northeast.
Cool. Right. So that is actually quite an improvement on what it's been like. I've had my winter coat on today.
Have you?
Oh
it's
my
been
God,
boiling. It's been like really like rainy the past couple of days, but like recently in Bristol, I've been like tanning in the garden. It's been incredible.
I know, it's been beautiful, and then all of a sudden it's just massively cooled down. Even had the heating on at home, but we went out for a walk today and it was raining, and it wasn't too windy actually, but it was wet and cold, so I had my winter coat on with my hood up and everything. So
use that. So when you're telling the weather, it's more than just information. I mean, in a script, in a broadcast that's only a minute, you want to sort of like keep it, you know, as light on the extra detail, but you can be like that. You can bring a bit of you into it. You can be like, well, we're not seeing much sun in the northeast. I even put my winter coat on, but what's it going to look like for the next few days? Well, let's take a look. Well, Thursday, and you can sort of go into it like that. You can sort of be a bit more loose with it if you want.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. I just want to get that right. Right, well, let me give you your... Start again. I can't remember how you started yours off. Right, let's go.
Yeah.
It's time for the weather. So in the northeast, it's been quite chilly recently, but it is going to warm up slightly. It's still only in the low teens. Low teens, a little bit of sunshine. It says it's going to be no rain tomorrow, which is great. That's nice to hear, isn't it? We've had quite a bit of rain today. Heading on into Friday. So Friday, it's warming up teeny bit, like by a degree, but it's better than it has been, because quite frankly, I had my winter coat on today. I don't want to be putting that on again soon. And then moving on into the rest of the week, we're going to see it warm up to 17 degrees on Sunday, which I'm looking forward to. Back to a little bit where we were before. Right, get out in the garden instead of hiding inside like we have been. But it's warming up, it's looking dry, so we can't complain with considering how it's been. Thanks for your time.
That was really, really good. That was fantastic. That was brilliant. That was really, really good.
Maybe that's my calling. Maybe I should be a weather reporter.
So I mean, I think you'd make a great TV presenter, especially if you can ramble off the weather like that. That was really good. That was really, really good.
Well, I did start. I was doing a bit of radio presenting up until recently, and I really enjoyed that. And like sometimes I would find myself completely rambling, then I'd go, what on earth am I talking about? You don't listen to me, let's put some music on, kind of thing. But I really enjoyed doing that. So no, I definitely think it's something that I would love to try.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's never been easier to be a presenter, because what are you doing now? Like, you're essentially doing your own sort of live show, and you know, you've not got a gallery playing graphics, and you've not got a director in your ear saying, all right, Jade, wrap him up, he's been rambling on for too long, or you know, we're going to go to an ad break in 10, 9, 8. You know, there's none of that, but you're still doing it like right now.
Yeah, well, there we go. Maybe that's the next path I head down.
Bricks, the live TV show.
Nick Calm says, give her a job. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, well, yeah, you did really, really well. You did really well.
But like, how, when you say it's never been easier to be a presenter, in like, what way do you mean that then? Because obviously, surely you need to get involved with a TV station.
Not anymore. I mean, like, people make whole careers by presenting their own content online. I mean, you don't need to wait for someone at the BBC to say, okay, Jade, you can do Prick Me Up, we'll commission that for a 6-part series, because you're just doing it. You can just get on and do it.
Yeah,
that was my main, like, for anyone that wants to get into TV, that's my main piece of advice. Just start making stuff, whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's a podcast, whether it's, you know, like an online radio show. Just get on and do it. You know, if you're a bit crap to start with, then that's fine. You'll learn as you go, because everyone does. Like, if I look at the stuff that I did back when, you know, I started in 2015, it's totally different and horrific compared to what I put out now. And I think if you just get on and do it, then people are more likely to see you. Like, I got my documentary in Norway because someone saw a YouTube video that I did about the Glastonbury tour. Like, that's a lot of casting, I guess, that goes on nowadays. If someone's making a bit of noise on social media, then, you know, they become the person that people look at to present the new shows and the latest things and stuff like that. So it's a way in.
A lot of it today depends on social media followers, which is really sad. But it was like, I've heard especially in the acting industry, people saying they've lost jobs because they went with a certain actor because they had 200,000 social Twitter followers or whatever. And that's just really not the way it should be. It should be based on talent, not on how many people you can get to like your page or whatever. But yeah, no, it is weird the way the world works now.
It's a similar way in TV, actually. I'm pretty sure I lost a job because I didn't have enough Twitter followers.
It's crazy. And like, when I was doing my radio show, like, I would say every day, I would be like, at some point in my little thing, I'd say, oh, why don't you give me a follow on social media, like trying to build it up. And I swear I didn't get a single follower from doing it. I swear I didn't get any extra followers. I think it's just it's difficult, isn't it, that whole kind of social media world. And I know, but the thing is about my followers, I know that my followers are dedicated, like, fans of Pricks and things like that. Like, I know that they're all genuine. I don't have a lot of followers, but I know they're all genuine followers, and they're not bought followers, or they're not just, you know what I mean. And I bet it's the same for you. I bet, like, you know that your followers on Twitter and Instagram, etc., are people that are genuinely interested in you and not.
I'd hope so, but you'd be surprised by how many, like, I posted a YouTube video today. If you want to check it out, it's an interview with Mr. Motivator about the workouts that he's doing with the JDRF.
I've got these comments. How are we doing it with JDRF? Has he got?
I've got these comments from like 2 random channels that say, "Big up, hope all is well. Would love to be friends." And then these were commented literally the second that the video was uploaded. So I know that they're like bots. They're not real people. But yet somehow I've got these 2 comments on my video, and I've not bought comments from my video, so I don't know how they're there. It's just like, what's going on? Like, who is buying comments? You know, these people think that because maybe that's it. So these people have bought bots to go and comment on other people's videos. So I click through and watch some of their videos and sort of return the comment. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Does Mr. Motivator have a connection with Type 1 then?
Yes, so he doesn't tend to talk about it a lot, but he did in my interview. He was quite forthcoming with it. His daughter was diagnosed at the age of 19, and ever since then he's sort of like done fitness classes and raised awareness and like workouts-a-thons for JDRF and that sort of stuff.
I remember. Was it even called GMTV then? It was. I don't think it was. I remember doing
TVAM
as a child on a morning.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, you used to join in with him. Oh, I loved him. Oh my God, that is amazing that he has a connection with type 1. Do you reckon he might do a prick me up with me?
Oh, probably.
Right.
He's a busy guy though. God, it took me a while to tie him down.
No, I know.
He's never been busier because everyone's asking him to like, can you just cheer up the country or something? Can you just like? So he's back on all the tellies again. But here's a little bit of gossip that came out of my interview with him. Do go and watch it, everyone. I'm not.
I will.
There's more in it than this little nugget of Mr. Motivator treats, and he's gonna start selling his incredible outfits soon, so we can all wear a Mr. Motivator unitard. The one that he spoke to me in had oranges all over it.
That is class. That is class. How many people are going to buy them?
A stringed vest and a unitard with oranges.
People are going to buy them for 90s nights and stuff like that, aren't they? And yes. I love that. Yeah, that's made me really happy. I loved him as a kid. I just thought he was amazing. But he was on my telly every morning before we went to school doing like
pretty cool guy. And he does a daily workout on his YouTube channel for anyone, and it's for free, and they're all sort of like accessible for people with different abilities and that sort of stuff. And he does that every single day at 12 o'clock. He's there, Mr. Motivator in the house, they're called. I'll
have a look at that because we've been doing a different workout every morning for the last couple of weeks because we were doing PE with Joe, but we just got a bit bored and wanted to try something different. We've just been going on YouTube and looking for different workouts each day, so we'll definitely do a Mr. Motivator one. Definitely.
Yes, do. They're not super long either, but they're quite easy.
So we are going to have to wrap it up shortly because it's a Wednesday night, and 9 o'clock on a Wednesday is the GB doc tweet chat that they do, and I don't like to kind of encroach upon their time, so we will wrap it up. But is there anything else you want to tell us about that you're doing before we do wrap up?
What am I doing right now? Well, the podcast. You're my next guest on my podcast, the All for One podcast. It's usually a little bit different. It's usually released monthly, and it's a panel of 4 people discussing that month's topics and issues. But because of lockdown, I've had a bit more time on my hands, so I've been releasing episodes weekly. So last week I spoke to Khalid Keshta, the bodybuilder, who also has been doing some workouts for JRF. But the next episode is going to be with your lovely self. It'll be out tomorrow, and the episode after that is Mr. Motivator. So
everyone must
all-star lineup. It's the All for One podcast. It's in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere. Right. And you can usually find it on my social media too somewhere. I'm at Jamie Lowe TV everywhere.
I normally announce next week's guest, but I haven't actually lined up next week's guest. I suddenly realised today, I thought, I haven't done that. So I will announce next week's guest on my social media in the next couple of days. Just follow Pricks Official on all channels for that. And also, I am the only other thing I'm really doing at the moment, other than doing these and doing Type 1 Tuesday, sharing other Type 1 stories, is I've still got Pricks Products shop running, my Etsy shop, Pricks Products. So if you want to check that out, guys, please do. If you don't already, give Jamie Lowe TV a like on social media, subscribe to his YouTube channel, and subscribe to mine if you don't. I mean, I don't know what you're doing watching if you haven't subscribed, but please hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you guys next week. Anyway, usual time, 8 o'clock. And thank you so much, Jamie, for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Jade.
Thank you so much. Take care.